Eins, zwei, drei, vier.
Leistungsgesellschaft. It's one of these words that only Germans can invent, really. It means it's two parts. It's Leistung is achievement or success or trying hard to get something and performing something. Performance is also a word that you could use. And Gesellschaft is society. So it's about a society based on achievement. And it's a critical word. It's a negative word. It's a disparaging word. It's a word that is a society gone bad. A society that is negative and sick, basically at its core. It's a society that if you have to, in order to get love and respect and recognition from your fellow man, if you can only do this by achieving something, meaning earning a lot of money, getting the job, the high position, being the boss, inventing, the new computer, being the first man to put your foot on the moon, to have all the status symbols, all the symbols of success. We would say, Americans would say success. And it's about this doctrine of success, of course. It's about this negative look at this American, very American, not only American, but also very American doctrine of success. And it says if you live in a society that is based on the need to be successful, and only those who are successful are good or worthy, then it's a sick society. This idea of Leistungsgesellschaft as a negative, as a dystopia, as a society gone wrong, has become so accepted broadly in German society that it's a given. It's now a given. Everyone will say, "Oh yeah, that's typical Leistungsgesellschaft. We don't want that. We don't like that." And people will take it upon themselves to make it clear to others that they disapprove of this. And the biggest example, and my toenails curled when I saw this, for me was there was a talk show some time ago. Late at night, a talk show host who was fairly well known had like maybe 6 or 7 guests in his little TV studio, and he was talking to each one in turn. And one of his guests was a well-known, famous, much lauded, respected violinist, and she was one of the best violinists in the world. She created art. Music that was sublimely beautiful, that would transport you to another plane if you listened to it. She was a great creator of culture. She enriched the world with what she did. And so she talked about how she got there, and she said, well, you don't get where I am without really putting a lot of work into it. And I sacrificed most of my childhood. I didn't go out playing with my friends. I practiced from the time when I was 7 or 5 or whatever it is, she said. And I dedicated my life to this instrument. And that's how I got where I am now. And that's why I can play this instrument like no one else can. When she said that, this show host said, oh, you mean like a trained monkey? And then he immediately talked to someone else. And, he didn't give her a chance to reply. Didn't look her in the face and say, well, isn't that kind of like a trained monkey? Would you like to reply to that? He didn't say that. He just said, oh, like a trained monkey. And then changed the subject. And the woman was sitting there going, oh, well, what just happened? And it took me also 5 minutes to realize this guy just called her on national television. This woman who, dedicated her life to this thing of beauty, a trained monkey, compared her to a monkey. And I thought, you piece of crap. I just want to punch the guy in the face. And the reason he could do that is because there is this general assumption in German society that achievement is basically bad. Achievement, performance, trying to compete, trying to be the best there is basically a bad thing, a sick thing. It makes you sick and corrupt. It damages you. It makes you unhappy. And that comes from this word, Leistungsgesellschaft. And of course, there is some truth to it. even in America, we will say success is so important to us that it makes us sick. Everyone tries to be successful, and if we're not successful, we're unhappy. But why are we so unhappy? Why can't we just accept the way we are? And it's true, of course, that's a true argument. It is possible, and I see that in my life, actually. I try to be the best writer I can. I try to be a successful writer. It does make you a little bit sick. It becomes like a craziness. It becomes a neurosis. And so the criticism is partly true. But then I think about how German society works, or how European society in general works, and how American society works. And I look at this, there's this basic difference. And it came when I took a one-year trip through the Middle Ages, researching the Middle Ages. And I wrote a book about it. It was my first book. And I realized during this search for the Middle Ages that there's a basic difference between American society and European society, and that is the end of feudalism. Feudalism, let's go back a while, feudalism is based on the idea that your social standing is not determined by you, but by God. If you were born a serf, it was God's will that you would be born a serf. It's called knowing your place, and it's a very feudal concept. And of course, if you were a lord, a prince, or a rich guy, that also was decided by God. God decides if you're king or if you're a princess. Your family, even if your family gets poor, you're still a princess. You're still a prince. Your children will be princes and princesses and lords and counts and barons or whatever it is. They will always enjoy a higher social status just for the fact that they were born into a higher social status. It's not earned. It's born. And that is feudal society. And of course, America, 1776, we said we don't want that. It was a complete revolution against feudalism, and we said status has to be earned, or at least it can be earned. Anyone who is, a rich guy, or a prince, or a politician, a king, he can lose his position at any time because anyone below him can compete with him and come up and knock him off his seat. There are serfs, of course. There are poor people and workers and the abused and the exploited in American society, plenty. But they all have the right to rise above their station. No one in America says, know your place, because we don't know our place. That's what America is about. Feudalism, Europe is about knowing your place. America is not about knowing your place. America is about not accepting your place and fighting against it. Even if you lose, you fight against it and you try to get up there where those other guys are. And that's two basically different ways of looking at life. But it's often the guys who have succeeded, or who are rich or powerful or respected. It's the guys on top who tell the other guys down below to know their place and to be satisfied with what they are. It's the TV show moderator who, he's famous, he's a celebrity, he's earning a lot of money. He's the guy who tells us in TV land to know your place and not try to rise above your place. And the reason he's saying that, of course, is because he doesn't want the competition. He doesn't want the guy, the little kid out there who is a better TV moderator, TV show host than he is, to rise up and take his job. He doesn't want the competition. He doesn't, if you are a, Mercedes-Benz or BMW, and you've been around for as a company, as a major company for, since the 19th century, you don't want some guy with an idea for an electric car or a driverless car to come up and make a better car than you have. So you tell him, no, if you try to make the better car, you will only be unhappy because you won't succeed and it will become a neurosis and it'll be terrible. Accept who you are. If you're confronted like I am with it, I've been in Germany for 30 years, confronted with a word like Leistungsgesellschaft all the time. It's a word that carries this doctrine of anti-success doctrine that you find often in Europe, and you think about it, and you wonder to yourself, well, what is best? What's best for you? Should I strive for success, or should I be happy just in my place? Should I know my place? When I think of a feudal society and an American anti-feudal society, and I think of people, kind of a lot of them in Europe who are in a high place, and I think of them, and I think of them in their security of knowing that It's God who wants them to have this high status. And I don't like that. I want them not to feel secure. I want them to be awake at night thinking all this can be taken from me all the time. If they have so much more than the average guy, and there are rich people, as many rich people in Europe as there are in America. These guys are really extremely rich. They have a stable wealth that they don't have to worry about that will ever be taken from them. A company like Mercedes-Benz or BMW, German law would not let those companies fail. So if you have have an idea for the electric car of your own car in Germany, we're going to have a hard time competing with BMW and Mercedes. But in America, it's possible. When I think of these guys, I want them to be constantly aware that they could lose their wealth and position and status at any time. I want them to go to sleep at night wondering about if there's some guy out there with a better idea, a so-called disruptive idea that in 5 or 10 years will be so big that they will have to sell their shares, in their company and get a smaller house, and lose. That they could someday run with the losers.
1, 2, 3, 4.